Board of Education. Before we adopt the agenda, there has been some changes. First one, we need to add to consent items, travel items number 14 through 22. We also need to add to consent items item 5M, community education fundraisers. We need to omit from consent items 5L, Cedar Grove Elementary School flooring investigation. We need to amend new business item 7F, the first reading of the revised policy 09.11 school attendance areas. And we also need to add an executive session following the new business as authorized by KRS 61.8101C to discuss pending litigation due to the sensitive nature of the matter and strategy to be discussed with counsel. With those changes and additions being made, I'd like to have a motion to adopt the agenda, please.
Motion.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. Then moves us on to presentations, and Mrs. Ashby.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Join me with when I listen to our board commitments for Bullitt County Schools to improve our effectiveness. The board team for Bullitt County Schools commits to maintain primary focus on student learning, continuously review, define, and work toward district goals, listen to each other, speak freely, work and learn together, and support one another. After careful deliberation, support the majority's decision regarding shared goals for continuously improving district-wide student learning, agree to disagree respectfully, delegate implementation of board decisions to superintendent and leadership team.
Thank you, Ms. Ashby. Mr. Roberts?
Thank you, Mr. Weiser. Each month, the Board of Education welcomes public comment. We do have a sign-in sheet. I've asked several of you all if you would like to speak, sign up to speak. Do we have anyone here that has not signed up that would like to speak tonight? Oh, please, come on. We want to make it a long meeting. Okay. Every month you have that opportunity, so we'll meet again on December 16th if you want to come back and sign up and speak. Thank you, Mr. Weishart.
Thank you.
1 second. And I'd like to have Mr. Weishart and Dr. Allen from Norwalk Middle School join me at the podium, please. Sean, come on up, please. I was reading the paper this morning, the Pioneer News, which is a very nice paper, covers a lot of Bullitt County issues. And look, Sean made the paper. Why did he make the paper? He made it for a very, very good reason. This is Sean Woods. He's in the 8th grade at Mount Washington Middle School. Just took an Explore test back in the spring. No big deal. Got a perfect score on the test. How many people have done that? Sean's parents are Rick and Krista Woods. You saw Krista just walk out with his little baby brothers. Well, actually, it was Beth that walked out. His middle sister walked out with his baby brother. Krista, where are you at? Say no. Thank you all. You've done a great job raising a wonderful young man. Dr. Allen, say something good about Sean.
Let me tell you, I had to go home and do homework. Because this is what we all want to reach for. And this is rare. I've been in education long enough. This is a rarity. This young man is a pre-AP student, which may not mean much to anyone, but he's taking in 8th grade high school level courses already. He's taking geometry, Spanish, and also pre-AP social studies, science, language arts. I think I've got them all. He already has earned his high school credit in Algebra 1. He's a member of our pre-AP advisory committee, so Mr. Weishart gets to meet him and hear his comments every month. He's a member of our academic team. In our third match, he finished 2nd in math, and overall right now you're sitting 3rd in the district league in math. Boys basketball team, I said well-rounded. Last Thursday they played Hebron. He was the 2nd leading player of the game with 8 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. He's a member of the Beta Club. A band member participated in Tri-State Band Competition at Moorhead. Did you enjoy getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Oh, yeah.
So. And we have Geography B, and he has won the school Geography B the last 2 years. So this young man is well-rounded, involved in everything, and a high-performing and achieving student.
Congratulations.
By the way, Sean, if I don't know if you have time to get on the Facebook or if anybody even cares about Facebook at your age or not, but put it up there about your story this morning. And the last time I looked, you had 135 likes and a whole bunch of nice comments to look at. So.
Okay, Mr. Davis.
The OASIS Awards are presented each year to outstanding achievement in school information services, and John usually wins something. This year he won a whole bunch of stuff. And a little background about John. If you don't know John Roberts, he's our what do we call you now?
I'm your CD, your communications
Director of Communications or Public Information or PR, whatever it
I
is.
used to work for him, Tom Bob.
He's the guy that does a lot of press releases. The reason that Sean's articles in the papers because John put out a press release putting that out there, and he does a lot of that stuff.
He was also on Channel 11 radio, John was.
So he gets a ton of good press for the district, which is important in building community support for the district. It's not just a fluff job; it's a way to explain the good things that are going on and to give us a little cushion when some things don't go so well. We have some goodwill built up because of the work John does. This OASIS Award is presented to John at the what is that called? Public Relations Association Annual Conference, Kearsburg.
Very good. I can't even say that.
Proficiency in feature articles. North Bullet, Janet Johnson creates a DAC PE class, feature photography for the Nichols Elementary School Watermelon at Lunch. Stories, Central Area Schools Music Festival, honorable mention, tabloid publication, which is excellence, begins in the classroom, which, by the way, thanks to Mr. Barr for doing that for us for free with advertisers this last 3 years. Bullitt County Public Schools Leader in Educational Excellence electronic newsletter, and School Matters. So, John Roberts, you're well deserving.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I do want to say one thing. Back in January, I had a heart attack, and it was a big health scare, and I feel great. And I'm very thankful this time of year because I work for, without question, the best school districts in the world, the best school and the best staff in the entire world. So I really appreciate the fact that I can interact with you all every day of the week, and I'm very thankful that I can do this with such an incredible staff of people. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
I'm going to go back to work.
Does somebody get a picture?
Oh, no. I got the camera over here, talk away.
Okay. All right, that takes us to Ms. Rachel Turner from Nichols Elementary.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Rachel Turner. I'm a second grade teacher out at Nichols, for those of you who don't know me. Some of you I see fairly often. So this spring, Mrs. Hamilton, my principal, asked me to pilot some student data notebooks, and it was new for me, and I said sure, because I like numbers and concrete information, so I thought that would be good. And I had no experience with that whatsoever. I figured it would be a good jumping off spot. So this is what we have going on here, and if you could help me here, just the green button, is that how I advance this? Is this the correct thing? I'll push a button. I've not used this
arrow
before.
right here, that's your pointer. This is
Oh.
your advance.
Sweet. Thank you so much.
Look at that.
Wow! Did you see how that turns? Well, that was amazing. My pleasure. Thank you, Mr. Davis. Well, I wanted my students to really be excited about having a notebook to keep track of their data, because I am used to keeping track of all sorts of data, but it's their work. They need to be able to know what they're doing as well. So thank you, Mrs. Hamilton, for purchasing notebooks, and they were so excited because they had fancy 3-ring binders with tabs and a plastic sleeve. They think that they're the coolest thing, and they want to take them everywhere. And some of them look like they've been taken everywhere, but they're second graders, and that happens. When I first started with this, I knew that there was a big connection with student data binders and thinking strategies, which Leader in Me. I've not been to that training yet, so I was kind of on my own for figuring things out, which I also liked. It was fun just to explore. I'm going to be attending a spring training this year for Leader in Me, and I'll be learning more about this as well. I apologize if you aren't able to see those as clearly. This is just my organization for students, and it needed to be not just friendly for me, but one that students can follow as well. And a quote at the bottom from Dr. Seuss: "The more you read, the more things you will know. The more you learn, the more places you'll go." And that was just very fitting for my little darlings. These are actually, I made scans of one of my students' binders, and so this was her artwork. They had to have a purpose, because otherwise there wasn't going to be much use if they didn't have a purpose for keeping track of data, and for me to be able to encourage them to continue. So with their data notebook, they can monitor progress, they can set goals for their learning, and they can share their learning, their progress with other people. And they talk about it with their peers, and I know that some want to talk with their parents about it as well. And then with their notebook, they can see where they've been, where they want to go, and hopefully be able to make plans that are realistic to get there. And then their self-illustration. Oh, and we have to have a clear direction and purpose. My apologies for that delay. This is probably the biggest thing that they keep track of. It is so important for them because every day, using PBIS, we have a little clip chart with our behavior system throughout the day. And at the end of the day, everybody records their clip chart color at the end. This one is a lot of dark blue and light blue and green and some purple. And there's an X on the 18 because we were out of school, and this particular student has everything organized. She cracks me up. She brings me pencils in the morning in case I don't have one to sign her planner when she comes in. So we support PBIS with our notebooks. They have daily recording, and there are some that I've learned I need to stand by to make sure they actually do record. We also, in the next tab over, we keep track of our math automaticity, a big thing that students work on. There you go, Mr. Schultz. So what we see here is you'll notice on the end of the second column there that I have not created the multiplication recording chart, and I was reminded again today, "Miss Turner, did you make my new sheet yet?" And I said, "No, not yet." I apologize. So this little darling has recorded all the dates that she has passed, all the different levels and the mastery levels for addition and subtraction, and she is a trip. And I have a couple of students that are real close to her, and they've got some real friendly competition going on. They're like, "Where are you at? Where are you at?" And they're kind of nosy about it, but it's fun because they're also very encouraging for each other, and that's really nice. People are like, "Oh, don't worry, you'll pass that one next." That's kind of fun to see. Spelling. So gone are the days of number your papers 1 to 10, and we take a spelling test. We do not do that anymore. So I have incorporated a spelling dictation using 2 to 3 sentences. And at the beginning of the year, I was the one doing all the work, doing all the checking, and they just wrote it down and they turned it in. That was all they saw of it, and I knew that there needed to be a little shift in that equation there. So we took a break on the recording of the scoring because I had some work to do with the structure of how we were doing things. And now I have a rubric that I used for scoring that, and now the students are scoring their own work. We have to do it in a small group because it's too many of them if it's just one adult. So we do it in a small group. We go through, there are certain elements that I'm looking for, and they check and they know what I'm looking for, and I'll say, "How's your spacing in your writing? Can people who are reading your writing tell where your words stop and start?" And they are really harsh on themselves. "Oh my goodness." They'll be like, "No, this was awful." And I'll say, "Golly, I thought you did really well here." So now they're starting to score their own work, which I find interesting. And it's changing how I address their writing too, because it lets me see how they're looking at print, especially their own. And as the year is going on, our sentences for our dictation become more complex, including varied length and sentence structure in different types of questions. And that's good to see that they are using or not using certain elements. Something that was new for me this year, I may or may not incorporate next year, is a word bank. It is created by Rebecca Sitton. Some people may be familiar with her work. She's a reading and spelling process person who knows buku amounts of stuff. And she has come up with 1,200 most frequently occurring words that students will run into, beginning with number 1, the, all the way through things that I can't even pronounce myself. And she has earmarked a certain number of levels as students go by as to what would be a normal attainability for reading and writing for students of varied ages. And so we started out the year, students wanted to see what they knew, and that took a while just to get an initial baseline. And this particular student has not passed the level 7. I think there were like 3 things that
she has not mastered when she's reading. Now, when she reads them in context when she's reading out loud to me, I can see that she is getting really close. Some words are getting pretty long, and it's hefty. And if things are missed, then I'm able to see, well, gosh, maybe they're not consistently looking left to right through print, and there's some errors in how they are looking. And the writing portion of it, we had not assessed. I assessed the writing portion of the very first level today. There's 48 words on a level. So it's about, when we read, it's not about words on a list as much as getting a message from what they're reading. So that's not been my push this year, but it's been kind of interesting to see. May not continue that for another year, but it was interesting. It's not indicative of comprehension. I've got some students who could read every single word on every single list. They couldn't tell you what half of them mean. They're just really good about decoding. And their errors are very informative to me. It tells me how they look at print. We keep track of our common assessments. Now, and this has been good for us this year. After we take our common assessment, I score them in as short amount of time as I can to get them right back into students so that it's still fresh in their head. And we all gather together and we hand them out, and then we go through them together. So when they're looking at it, they're like, oh man, I thought I got this. Yeah, I did really well. And they have conversations with each other. And sometimes I'll hear them kind of compare, and they'll try and do some problem solving together. Not very often, so much quite to the problem solving together. We do that as a whole class. We do talk about each common assessment together. As they're taking the assessment, I especially pay attention to the short answer questions, because explaining their thinking is so hard. When you're 7 years old, it's just hard because they want to say, I just know it. Well, I understand you know it, so we're trying to build some language to explain our thinking. And we do work on problem solving with that, with a lot of modeling and demonstration. And this particular student, when we were going over our recent November math common assessment, said, I did a lot better in math than I did that English language art stuff. I said, well, I'm glad that you're looking at your data. So what does that tell you next time? I need to work really hard. She said, I just hate rereading sometimes. Well, thank you for your honesty, and I'm glad that you know where there might be some things you can do differently. So they're pretty good about knowing what they can do differently and what they did really well. We also keep track of our MAP scores. This is all we have right now is our spring data, and then our fall. We haven't mapped yet for the winter. And a lot of students were very concerned in the fall when they got their MAP scores back, because in first grade, which is what she was last year, it's read to them and it's in their ears with headphones. And when they get to second grade, they're completely on their own. So there's kind of a little dip sometimes in second grade. And so my goal for them was just to maintain your score, because if they're maintaining, going from having it in their head to doing all the work on their own, they're still showing some learning in there. She went down a little bit, but not bad. We look at spring to fall, and we talk about why there was a dip. I make sure that we always talk about the norms. This is what the average second grader should be able to do, or what is expected of you in second grade at this time in the year. We talk about the norms. We do set goals before every time, and then at the end, we had a reflection, and she said, I beat my score, S-K-O-R. I said, she beat the norms, but not her previous scores. She was excited about being higher than the norms. And that right now is the big chunk of our data notebooks. And then I always am thinking about, man, would I do this portion of it again? And some things I would do differently. I really want to learn about having student-led conferences. If they could have their parents come in and have them, with their binders open, say, I was really good at this, and I need to work on my math. I'm stuck on 4A on addition. I need extra work on that, because they know exactly what they need when it comes to that sort of data. That would be neat to see. I would like to incorporate different types of graphs. I like to see some pictographs and some line graphs go in there, and maybe have them track some whole class stuff. Right now I'm doing all the whole class data. I have a funky looking clipboard that I carry with me all the time. It has to be unique so I can see it, because otherwise I would lose it. But I would like for them maybe to track a few things whole class. And I would like to incorporate some written reflections or comments. They're really good about talking about them amongst themselves, but some written reflections I think would be neat to add in there. And find a way to send them home for parents to review and have some commentary going back in there as well. Just some ideas that keep going back and forth in my head. But those are our student libraries that we have going on this year.
Very nice.
I love them. Thank you. Thank you. Come in and see them. Why are they important? It helps me see where students are, but then it gives students that knowledge of, man, this is what I know, and this is what I don't know yet, and here's where I need to go. And so they have really done well without even realizing it, set goals for themselves. One little darling on our spelling test with the primary grading scale, the E, S plus, S, P, and U, got a P on her last spelling test. And she said, "That's the best I've ever done!" And for her it had been, and she was tickled pink to have a P on her spelling test because it was the best she had done. And she had been looking at that tab in her binder with all of her spelling data in there, and I was thinking, good for you, kiddo, you are making progress.
You think it could scale up to third, fourth, fifth, sixth, middle school?
I would say it could be adapted for anybody.
I think it's so good that they can see what they know, what they don't know, and where they need to be. It's setting goals. I think we've done a poor job teaching our children to be responsible for their learning. Set a goal.
Right.
Learning to set goals. I think that's so
Right.
important, and that's a great way because it's like they're concrete in front of them.
They all have great strengths. I've got one student who's really, really struggling with reading and writing. Has some pretty severe concerns about this particular child who's getting assistance. But I call him my little math genius. And he is on top of everything with math. And he'll say, "Well, I can do this because I'm a math genius. It says so right here." That's right, buddy. You are.
But that gives him an opportunity to feel good about something. Even though
Very much.
he's well aware that he's not doing well in regards, but he can be proud of himself in the math.
And what put him back on the playing field with other students who aren't having those same struggles, where he's a leader in one area. And that's been really good for that self-confidence too, which also helps cut down on behavior issues. It's been a great tool to have in the classroom.
You're gonna keep doing it? Still do it next year?
We'll need a few new binders because some of them don't look so good. Yes, sir?
Did you ever, I know a teacher who does this, and she puts her graph for the entire class on the wall for everyone to see.
I have some graphs. Well, I've been tracking the math automaticity is the big thing. Ms. Turner, you need to put more stickers up there, is what I usually hear. And I've been tracking the math automaticity and our reading from the Rebecca Sitman Word Bank. I at first wanted to monitor and keep track of attendance every day, and then I dropped the ball on that one because I started out the year with 34,
Right.
and I wasn't so good with keeping track of the attendance every day on the daily graph. And now it's a smaller number of students, and we don't keep track of the attendance anymore on the daily graph. It was too much for me to bite off at first, so that's a thing to consider too. But I do like having the whole class graphing as well. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
And Ms. Purtle from Riverview.
Thank you so much for having me this evening and having us. This is my staff on the second two rows right there. We're very appreciative to get to share a few things with you this evening. I will begin with the Bullitt Alternative Center, and then we have several others who will speak about Spring Meadows. Ms. Scotty will speak about Spring Meadows, and then Mr. Dawson and Ms. Lewis will speak about Riverview Opportunity Center. We'll go ahead and start with the first slide. This first slide right here basically lets you know our past placements and the history there. The primary components that I want you to understand right here is that in 2010 and 2011, much of our placement came from drug-related offenses. 35 came from drug-related offenses, and in 2012, 2013, only 16 of those students came from drug-related offenses. So that is good for our community and good for our schools, knowing that they are doing what they need to be doing. There must be a lot of interaction about safe schools, policies, and programs to help with that. Moving on to the next graph, 2012, 2013, you'll see primarily there we have moved into being the primary area being disruption to the educational process, with 63.2% of our placements coming from that area. Transitions for 2012, 2013, we had 66 successful transfers back to their home schools. So we're very proud of that. We complement the homeschools, we complement our faculty and staff, because we believe that it is because of better communication on both ends. We're both the homeschools and we are trying to communicate better and make sure that they understand what our needs are before they come to us, and we understand what their needs are before they send them to us. Increased interventions in both back and the homeschool, and continued connections with students on both ends. Once the student gets to us or once the student goes back, we want to make sure that the communication, and we've had several times where a school has called and said, hey, this kiddo's not going to make it, and we're like, whoa, 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 before you do that, let's go out. And so we would send our social workers or assistant principal or myself would go out, and we would make sure that the needs of that student were met and that we've given them enough skill sets and strategies to be able to deal with their problems on their own, or they know who to contact to get support so that they can stay in their home school. The next slide will indicate to you that we have 115 students currently, and in this school year, from the previous school year, we have only had 7 students who have returned to us. So in the past, we've had as many as 31 students return in years previously. So we must be doing something right on both ends. The homeschool, again, giving them a huge amount of credit, and my faculty and staff for the way they work with students and prepare them to return to their home schools. And of the 7 students that we had that were considered unsuccessful transfers, 3 of those were special ed students who were ARCed back to their home schools, which means they don't follow the same phase process that our regular ed students do at BAC. So we're very pleased with that. We currently have 33 students at BAC, and we have, I believe, 7 students who are pending. So the next slide here indicates that the transitions back are 57.4%, which is higher than it's ever been. And the percentage return to back, I told you that it was 7, but we don't have the data finished until the end of the school year, so that's why that indicates no data right there. If you move on to recidivism, typically in August and in January, we have high numbers that return to us for, typically for August, after the first few weeks, they get into the school year and they decide, oh, this isn't the place for me, and they start to act up a little bit. So we see some numbers there. And then after Christmas, when in the household there's a lot of turmoil or there's issues with, finances or whatever issues there are, we tend to see that. But to date, if you'll see for this August, we only had 2. And then following the next month, 3 and 4. So that indicates that we have a lot of skill sets in place to make sure that those students, when they leave us, they're prepared to go back to their home school, which is where we want them to be anyway. That's where they belong. RTI data, we are very strong in academic and behavioral RTI. We have, in 2012 and 2013, 2 students who received math interventions and 4 students receiving the reading interventions. 1 student showed significant increase to make up for a 2-year gap in their deficiency there. And 1 student earned 1 credit as an 8th grader and transitioned on grade level. 1 student at BAC had been at BAC for 4 years. This past year, they were able to successfully transition to high school in the fall of 2013, which is that and one of the things that we have to be careful of and mindful of when we are preparing to send them back, some of these students who've been with us for years and years, or several years, they're afraid to go back. So they're afraid they'll fail, they're afraid of the social skill set, they're afraid of what type of teachers they have, will they get the individual attention. So sometimes we fight that battle of giving them what they need so that they have the strength to go back and not set themselves up for failure or be self-sabotaging. So that's one of the issues, but that's a good problem to have, that's a really good problem to have for us. Behavior, 2012 and 13, 8 students for behavioral interventions, and 3 of those students, because of the documentation and the increased support of individualizing their needs, we identified for special education. 1 student transitioned successfully to the regular ed setting, and 2 students, they went residential placement based on needs that were higher than we were able to have a support system in place for them. BAC population, and this just gives you a snapshot. Our 10th graders are the highest functioning students that we have, but for the most part, we're dealing with lower level math and reading scores for math. So we're, if we push them several grade levels, they're still going to be below grade level, but you have to start somewhere, and you have to celebrate the small successes that you get with them and continue to work. 2013-14 behavioral RTI, 2 students are in process of interventions for data collection. And then our academic, we have a class that we do 5th period, and we place the students based on their academic needs. Some, wherever their need is greatest. So if the MAP scores indicate that their reading scores are low, we place them there. Some are math. And then we have 5 students who are above and are in enrichment class. So, and that works very well. We monitor that weekly. We go back in and we talk. We change them out of 9 weeks if as needed, but we talk about their interventions. What is it taking for them to be successful? If we see something that's not working for a student, what we do is we go in and we try a strategy. We monitor it for 2 weeks. We come back and we see if that strategy is working. And sometimes we just do a double check to make sure that we're fully monitoring and implementing the strategy for them to be successful. Math at back, number sense strand tends to be the weakest MAP score strand for us. So when we look at that, these were some of the things that students said to us, and I won't read them all to you, but to sum it up, they don't like math, and they don't feel that they can be successful at math. So those were some of the comments that were direct quotes, so they might be not quite what you, they're accurate for students. So moving on to the data that we have collected for that, and thingies. Oh, wait a minute, go back to thingies. Thingies, that's number sense problems, which include addition, subtraction, multiplication, and I'm just glad that they said thingies and we could figure out what it meant. So, what you want to see on the trend line, if it's not showing all of it, but the probe is the test that they take. The goal is the goal that they want. You want to see that aim line. You want to see their score, that little triangle, going up all the time and staying above the trend line. And here that you can see in the cases, you'll see a dip, and we will show several slides of that. You'll see dips for these kids, and that's because of all the behavioral issues. They come to us for a reason. So one of the things that we have to deal with, not only the academics, we have to really focus on, okay, if they're having a bad day, their probes are not going to be really strong. You're going to see some dips. So what you hope to see is a constant, small, gradual increase, because then you can tell that the strategy is working and what you're doing in place is being successful. And we're seeing a lot of that. We're either on the trend line or aim line, or we are above it. Okay, and then you'll see back. Sorry. That's okay. Thank you for doing that. You'll see a dip in there, and 9 times out of 10, if you go back and you see where that dip is, something escalated that day, their behavior or something happened in the home that caused that dip in that probe for that week. Okay. Flex program, 2012-13, we had 76 half credits that were earned for Apex and Compass, 38 total. This year, we've revamped some things. We've done some things a little bit differently so we could strongly increase the level of credits that we are earning. Right now, to date, we have 48 half credits. So we're doing some really good things. So we will surpass last year's credits and then some. Parent involvement. We had a parent involvement program, Thanksgiving. My social workers and my teachers, they were all amazing. They put together a program. It was last Tuesday. We have 33 students enrolled. We had 35 adult representatives from the home. So, and that was some of their feedback right there, that they were very pleased with what we had done, that they thought that they didn't feel so intimidated by school, that they wanted to come and be a part of the school more. We were shocked because one of the comments we put on there, would you like to be in a parent group? And 6 parents wrote in notes and said, yes, we'd very much like to be a part of a parent group. And these are parents that you think that, oh, well, they don't want to be involved. Well, if they feel welcome and they don't feel like they are less than, that they feel equal and proud to be there, and you take off the pressure of all the things that they think that they can't do or understand, then you've opened the door for many opportunities for them. And the first thing that we said when we had the program was. This is not about behavior reports. This is not about academic grades. This is about you coming, enjoying time with your children and being a part of the school. And that, you could see in the room, just took the pressure off of everyone at that point. So those are some of the things that they said. In our TEL survey, the TEL survey comes from the teachers, certified staff, and their evaluation. This is how we ranked on the TEL survey this year. You notice that in community support, instructional practices, we are ranking very high on the charts in all areas. So we're pretty proud. The time management down there, I see that as 76.2, and I kind of laugh at that because I can certainly understand, because they really didn't get much of a planning last year at all. We've done a better job this year, but they really got no planning, no time. They had to do it all on their own. So, I can certainly understand that, but we're proud of that TEL survey results because we're doing something right. And then you already know best practice site, and they give out 10 of those for the year, and we received 1 of the 10. So. At this time, I will let Ms. Gotti come up, and she has a few words about the Spring Meadows program. Thank you.
I'm Michelle Geidick. I'm the high school teacher at Spring Meadows, which is one of the residential facilities Ms. Pardo had mentioned. We have objectives that we're trying to increase collaborations with our alternative schools, so that's one of our actual goals. Provide rigorous curriculum, and we also have to not only work with schools, but we have to work with the staff at Spring Meadows. A lot of the instruction right now that we're doing, we've finally got Apex for all of the kids, so we're really excited about that. We also have a few other things that are different than the alternative school. I have a student that is on an alternative certificate, and I also have 3 GED students right now. So we have a very wide range. As far as demonstrating achievement, we still have to do the same assessments, thanks Jan Stone, that every other school does. We have had 100% passing scores on the end of course exams. So we did have a student score 100%, and I think it was the biology one, and then we had another one they were both Bullitt County kids, had a 90% on one of them. So I was really proud of that. Our plan scores in 2012 were higher than they are this year. I'm not really sure that the turnover is so odd that I don't know how to really explain that. It's not anything that we're doing necessarily. It's more the motivation of the kids at that time and the different issues that they came in with. The Explorer is also up there, which is kind of even itself. But what I found interesting was on our Plan and Explore data, English and reading skills are our issues, whereas they were math at back. So improving career readiness. If you know anything about Spring Meadows, we don't get to go out of the building very often. So what we've done to try to address some of the career is to access Career Readiness, which is an online site. Oh, this is the wrong one. I'm sorry, Career Cruising. We also have all the students are enrolled in college and career prep classes on Apex. We bring in guest speakers twice a month. Had the Mount Washington Chief of Police and Western Kentucky University, and we've even had Bluegrass Challenge Academy come in and speak to them. So we're trying to do that wide range of jobs without just saying, oh, your only choice is college. We have had students successfully transfer to college. One of them went to Western. We've had a couple of pass their GED tests. We have one right now that is at BCA, and then our general credits to help get them back is pretty high. All right, all of us working together. I'm working with the alternative, Ms. Pirtle and Rock and back, and we attend all those meetings, the same PLC meetings, the early release meetings. We're being trained in strategies, and I also work with other agencies or schools outside of that just for extra support out there. Preparing for the future. I have a video of a former Bullitt County Public School student. I was so excited. He received a 22 on his ACT. And as soon as he got that score, his question was, does this mean I'm college and career ready? I thought I was going to fall over because he knew that he needed to be. And I was like, yes, you've got it. But then when he went to BCA, they took the ASVAB. I don't know if anybody knows a whole lot about that test. But in order to get into the Guard, you have to have a 32. In order to get into the other military, you have to have a 50 plus, and he scored a 73. So, and I'm really proud too because he was a BCPS student. Okay, I do have a video. Oh, sorry, I'm not worried about that. Where'd the video go? Sorry, that's my favorite part of this. Do you have the video? I've got it. I'm so sorry, but I really, I didn't want to talk, I just wanted to show a video of this kid. Okay, sorry about that. What do you say? Can I hold him? There we go. Okay. This is the particular kid that got the 22 and the 73.
Is he out now in the Army?
He is still at BCA. He graduates December 14th.
What's that outfit he's got on?
That is what you have to wear at BCA. Mm-hmm. It'll pop up in just a minute then.
I'm from Bullitt County, Kentucky.
Thank you, Mr. Basham. Can you briefly tell us a little about your elementary and middle school years?
Elementary school, I attended Cedar Grove all years. I went regularly and made decent grades. Same thing with middle school, only I went to Burnham Middle all years.
Thank you, Mr. Basham. Can you tell us a little bit about high school? What schools did you go to, and maybe any life-changing events or events that may have led you to go to Spring Meadows?
High school, I moved around a lot. And I started freshman year at Bullitt Central, then I went to Iroquois, and then due to some trouble, I went to Nelson County. Sophomore year, I started at Doss, then I went back to Bullitt Central, and I finished off the year there, and I started my junior year at Bullitt Central.
Okay, thank you again. Please tell us about Spring Meadows, what motivated you to do well, and what impact did Ms. Gaddick have on you?
During my time at public schools, I never really paid attention. I kind of fell behind a lot. When I went to Spring Meadows, I met Ms. Gaddick, and she helped me realize that my education is important, and that if I want to be successful, I need to start putting forth my best effort. And that kind of clicked with me, and I started working on it pretty good. Alternative schools helped me a lot because of the structured environment and my teachers' encouragement.
Why did you try to do so well in your ACT?
Ms. Gaddick stressed that it was really important and that I should try my best because it would affect my educational future.
Okay. What are you doing now? Where are you at?
Now I'm at the Bluegrass Challenge Academy, where it's pretty much a program that allows me to better myself while working on my academics.
Okay. What are your plans for the future?
My plans for the future are after Bluegrass Challenge Academy, I plan on joining the Marine Corps and shortly going to college afterwards.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Gaddick, for this opportunity.
Okay. That's why I wanted you to see it. So, I didn't ask him to say all those things about me either. So, okay. And now I'd like to introduce Mr. Dawson to tell you about rock.
we'll wait for them. My part's only about 25 minutes, so it should be rather quick. You know, ball games go on about 15 minutes. Okay, we appreciate the opportunity. One of the things that we're trying to do at Rock is to not only do Apex, but to differentiate the curriculum, to do projects, to teach small groups. So we're trying to mix up the instructional aspect of it. Our scores, as you can see in the green, that's Rock, and the one behind it is the national average. So we're doing well in all phases of that, and very proud of that.
You should be. Yeah. Fabulous.
So we're above, as you can see, above national average in every area. And that wasn't a fluke, because of our end of course exams last year. We had 99% of our students pass the exams. We took 154 end of course exams, and we passed 152. The Work Keys exams last year was our first year of doing that, and 80% of the tests were passed. There's 3 parts to those tests. Doesn't mean 80% of the kids are already passed that, but 80% of the tests that were given were passed. And we're filtering in those students who didn't pass those parts with the students who are taking it this year. Big push has been on-demand writing, where we have live scoring in the gym, where each grade level will shut down for an extended period of time to go have a prompt where they write about what's going on in life. We also are doing it in the classroom as well. And then improved activity, that's something that's really, I see the difference in the last few years of the different groups, TAP, BAMS, and CRC interacting more. It was a distinct difference. Certain areas of the school, certain areas of the lunch tables, that has gotten a lot better, and I think it's because we try to promote that. We're actually having a 3-on-3 basketball tournament tomorrow of the groups. They could sign up. That is their PBS, the end of the month incentive that they chose to do. So they're very excited about that. That's actually our football game that was in the fall. And we're trying to do different things to have them interact. The Work Keys tests were given for just the CRC students and TAP students. But since they did so well, and Ms. Todd will tell that in her part, but since they did so well, we rewarded all the kids with a dress down day. So we also, went on down to the BAMS and let them dress down as well. So trying to keep everybody on the same page. And Ms. Lewis will do the BAMS spot.
That was a quick 25 minutes.
There we go. Okay, Bullitt County Advanced Math and Science. We are working really hard this year, changing things, mixing it up a little. We are trying to improve the program's effectiveness with the way that we are working in the classroom. So we have more inquiry-based experiences this year. We've already taken 2 field trips. We've had in multiple speakers, and every week we try to get them doing something, problem solving, real world. We're going to Bernheim next week, yes, next week, and we have formed a new partnership with them. So they are starting to write their research, and we're going to look for some real data. We've also tried to talk to the Department of Energy, and they want to work with us, and so they're going to send somebody this year and work with them for a while too. Okay, we've restructured the classroom. These kids were really bogged down in paperwork, and those of you who are familiar with Apex could realize exactly how that could happen. So they were having problems transitioning into college, so we went to less paperwork, more college-like atmosphere, where these kids have closed book exams. They don't have so many times to try it again, and they're testing at an extremely high level. The data for the grades between this year and previous years is amazing. More inquiry experiences. I already told you guys about that. Oh, for the first time, these students are participating in the Bullitt County Science Fair. So, okay.
This is our ACT composites with like area, schools in the area. So we are well above DuPont Manual, Beechwood High School, the Brown School, which is the #1. So our average ACT at this point for our BAM students is a 27.
Can I press on that data just a little bit, just to make sure I understand it?
Let me go back.
Is that what? I mean, we've got freshman and sophomore.
We
is that
have-
every kid taking the test? Or
That is
that
every
50?
kid, I think, that is going through our program. So
Okay.
right now, for our freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors, so every child who's
Okay.
participated in BAMS has an average of a 27 on their ACT.
There.
We have freshmen coming in with 30s.
So
So
they're taking everybody's taking it? I guess
not
that's what I'm
everybody's
getting
taken it yet.
at. Okay.
We still have, similar to other schools,
Gotcha.
freshmen and
Okay.
sophomores that have not. Okay, and this is our comparison around the country. So you guys can see with some of the top schools in the nation, we come in pretty close to the top. So 5th right there. Okay, and then I can pass it on. Miss Todd, Kathy Todd from our CRC program.
All right. That's just our program objectives. Like Mr. Dawson mentioned, further differentiate student instruction. We also are improving career readiness, and we do that through some field experiences, some field trips that Ms. Rickard plans for the students. Do you want her to say anything about that? I'm not sure.
We've already taken many field trips this year. We are working with Mr. Southwood's program, so we're taking many field trips as a large group. They've been to the construction field days, where they were able to operate heavy equipment and get a real hands-on feel. We've had multiple guest speakers, the U.S. Army. We're bringing in some unions because a lot of the students from this program are not really going to transition to college. They're going to transition to trade school, and we're trying to find ways for that trade school to be paid for. Well, we're finding out that a lot of the union halls have schools built in, and they're willing to train the students.
Also, increased collaboration amongst colleagues, especially with the on-demand writing and other things. We get together and we analyze student work and data to try to do a better job at teaching them. Here's our improving career readiness with the Work Keys exam. 96% of the students passed.
And that just changed, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
that's
because
true.
We had the student retake that, so we have
100%. But that is just.
That was done this morning, so sorry.
And we're doing a little bit different this year. Last year they took all 3 tests in a 2-day period. We're just focusing on one section at a time, so they're doing reading for information right now. So that's all that they worked on and then took that test just last week. And they are given in direct instruction, not only through the computer-based Career Ready 101 program, but also, especially when they reach the higher levels, they need more one-on-one or small group instruction on how to do those things. And they've had field experiences at several businesses with more to come. Oh yeah, I miss Fox today too. She's in Jamaica. Yeah. This just shows the TAP program and how attendance has increased the last 3 years. Right, Mr. Dawson?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't
No,
know.
I mean, that's what it is,
Okay.
just showing that, that's the anticipation of.
The attendance rate.
People that were expected to graduate from the TAP program this year, right at 5, and then the attendance has gone up, and her goal was 90%, and the girls they're doing a much better job of coming to school, which has been a struggle at times.
Preparing for the future, all TAP students will be CPR and first aid certified upon completion of the program. Each student receives hands-on learning through field experiences at the daycare facilities. And as of November 20th, TAP students have earned 40 half credits.
And to meet the college and career ready part of that, the TAP students are in the child care program, so they're preparatory in those classes, and some of them could receive a child care certificate at the end of the year. So
I think that's it.
How many students are in TAP?
We've got 19, 20?
TAP, I think 18.
18.
And BAMS?
18.
How many?
39.
39.
Well, that's the freshmen and sophomores. There is a junior, senior class too that's at JCT.
About 170 total, all the programs, all the time.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, go ahead.
No.
You know, I don't know what to say really. I was over at the that dinner that they put on for the kids, and it was it's a different place. The place now, I don't want to get too emotional about this, but that place was a place that you didn't want to go. It was not dangerous, but it was definitely not
Scary.
uplifting to go into
It was scary.
to what was called day treatment then. And, you know, I sit there and talk to this young lady, rough girl, I guess, from her reputation. I think Rob and Greg both said I'll be scared of her. But
I did not say that. I said take your tie off.
I went and sat down and talked with her for 10 minutes or so, and then she was just as pleasant as she could be. She had goals for the future. She knew she wanted to go back to her home high school. Students I hear about from my house that have gone back to the school at the East End out there, they're successful. They're working hard. They keep trying. The reform thing that we did over and over, it seemed like, for that building has taken root now, and it took a little bit of staff turnover, but it's done. It's working. And it's success. Data has shown it. It's just crazy. I mean, it's and you know, the other side too. There's still improvements to be made, but they're making them, and it's happening, and people are working. You can't argue with that. You can't argue with those numbers. Thank you. You're doing what we want you to do.
It really takes special people, Ms. Pearl, to work in your building. It really takes special people. Everybody just cannot function successfully with that group of students. And I applaud you. I can't imagine on a daily basis the things you hear and see and are told by some of your students. And yet, you build that trust with them. And I think that is what is key to their success. They trust you, they know that you care about them, and I think that's so important. Because a lot of times in their lives, they don't have that feeling that somebody cares anywhere else. And you give them that special, what they need. I just can't say how wonderful I think you people are. I think there's going to be a special place in heaven just for you guys.
Well, all three staff at Rock and Back and Spring Meadows are just the best. They're the most amazing people you ever want to be in a classroom with.
Thank you.
And they have a real good boss too.
All right, thank you.
I've got one question. This is Ms. Lewis, that 27 score, is that composite score of all 39?
That's a composite score for everyone who's in the BAMS program. It's an average of the composite scores for everyone who's in the BAMS program that has taken the ACT currently. We took those are the most current scores for each student who has taken it, but not every student has yet taken the ACT. We do have some freshmen and sophomores who have.
How many?
Oh my goodness.
25?
Wait, get there. Between 25 and 30, actually. So we probably have at least 25 to 30.
And I'll tell you why I'm asking this. I sit here a lot of times and I see the figures come up, well, this is better than DuPont manual and so on and so forth. So you do that a lot. We're talking 25 students here, or we talking experience. And sometimes figures get a little skewed. I'm not taking anything away from it. But sometimes they get a little skewed because, hey, are we taking the top 25, say,
for manual impairments?
They're all the top 25 in manual.
Huh?
They're all the top 25. I mean, they really are.
Well, not when you get to 36. I mean, we're talking about the top.
Right.
Yeah. And I,
Well, we are very excited about the kids who are preparing to take it.
Well,
And we expect that number to go up, actually, with the kids that we have
Right.
in the program currently. Okay, we're very excited.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Fabulous. Good stuff. All right, that moves us on to College and Career Centers construction update.
Good evening, everyone. Okay. Let's see, I'm going to walk you all through North Bullitt and Bullitt East. Both projects definitely starting to take shape. These photos that you see here are about a week old. I was at both sites through the afternoon today and seeing a lot of change even from these photos. This is North Bullitt, the overall view. Let me see if I can, there we go. This area right here is the Flex Labs. This area over here are the Flex Classrooms. This area here now is up to bar joist bearing, and the contractor will be installing the bar joist by the end of the week. There are bar joists on the multipurpose room now. Flexible classrooms, contractor will be moving from the labs into the classrooms. These areas here will begin to will be working towards topping out. Once the bar joists are complete on the labs, they will move on to the classrooms. This is from the equipment platform looking down onto the flexible labs. Once again, all of these walls, all of this is cleaned out. All of these walls are ready for bar joists that's going to be installed in the next couple days. This is the equipment platform adjacent to the gymnasium. Once again, similar to previous projects that we've done, very good accessibility to the equipment in terms of maintenance and so forth for the maintenance and custodial staff. The multipurpose room, North Bullitt, you can see the bar joist there. Contractor just preparing to continue on with the bar joist over at the flexible labs. Big picture for both jobs is trying to get the bones in place, get a hat on it so that they can get going in the inside throughout the cold winter months. North Bullitt, this is the delivery area. This is an area that we replaced with concrete, and they are using that now. So much nicer delivery area. This is Bullitt East. Once again, contractor is much further along than you see here in these photos. I would encourage you all to stop by when you can. This area right here, it's the flexible classrooms. These walls have been topped out and are ready for bar joists. This area over here is the Flex Labs. They've got about 7 courses of masonry on those areas now. Again, there's the flexible lab areas. This was shortly after they had poured the floor there. You can see the protection blankets on it to keep the slab warm as it cures. These are the flexible classrooms. Once again, these areas are topped out, ready for bar joists as we speak. And again, the multi-purpose room, completely done. At North Bullitt, they will be ready to install the roof decking on the multi-purpose room by the end of the week. We'll move to the labs and then the classrooms and then follow up over here at Bullitt East in order to get everything dried in so that progress will continue throughout the winter. both contractors or both superintendents for the contractor indicated to me they really have no concern about being able to get right in before winter time or before the wet. Well, that's right. Right. Again, lot of, besides the masons and the steel erectors, probably the electricians are the ones who are in the building mostly now. As the masonry goes up, all of the rough-in has to take place for various devices that need to be in the walls. And then also above ceiling rough-in, you can see cable tray, and again, there's much more there now than there was when this photo was taken. Same at North Bullet, a lot of above ceiling work already taking place. Tennis courts, pavement installed, that was kind of a critical item. They wanted to be sure to be able to get that in so that everything would remain on schedule for tennis season in the spring, and the contractor has been able to do that. So, real pleased with both projects. Had to talk to them a little bit about some of the masonry on the platform level. They have assured me that this is at Full East, that those areas will be repaired, and it's really not bad, but it's not the best or anything. And they've assured me that they're sharpshooters for the work that's currently that's taking place in Flexible Lab. So all in all, pleased with the projects, both of them going pretty smooth right now. Any questions at all that I can answer? Thank you.
Thanks.
North Central, got a sidewalk, finally pleased to get down to the football field. The reason I show this because there's a point here pretty soon because of the complicated site work that's happening right behind the high school. We're going to be accessing the football field for the students for PE for a little while at this end to keep them away from construction. So we have a paved sidewalk, and this will be a nice permanent feature once all set down. Second way to get to the football field. The earthwork remediation has started.
Is that today? When is that?
That's about
Week
where
ago.
the tennis courts.
No.
Yeah,
Where?
Week
Yeah.
ago.
about a week ago, the 21st, so 4 days ago.
Okay.
To this point, they've removed about 1,000 cubic yards. I've got some reports that came in today about that. Actually, if we need to, I can put those up or some additional pictures, but they've gotten a big chunk of it. Remember when we talked, we were talking about 1,100 cubic yards for every foot of the whole building pad. So they've gotten quite a bit done, gone down pretty deep here, 1,000 cubic yards. So not going to hit that full worst case scenario. Still got a ways to go, but got a big piece of it out of the way right there.
Okay. Just say
So
that
did we
one.
get to use any dirt?
We're using, that's what we're going with. Now, because of the weather, they did bring in, they wanted to bring in some rock to stabilize it because of wet weather. We talked about this thing, we can't do the layer cake, but the civil engineer said to put a base layer is fine to start from. Then we can do earth on top of that. Once we get to the bad weather, the point where it's too wet. So that was a good move there to help. They dug down to get to good stuff. They put a layer of rock in.
Okay, so when you said the worst case isn't going to happen, it doesn't sound like it. Is that what you said?
Right.
Okay. So you said 1,000, and they got down to good soil with 1,000 cubic yards?
But they haven't got the whole site yet. They've still got to go to the west. Come this way, which is the deeper part.
So it could get worse, a lot worse.
That's what I was gonna ask, so because we're getting into the more swampy area, and all it's swampy.
So
I'm sorry, this is the last meeting. But,
It'll be, yes, it'll be more than this is here.
Okay.
Yes.
It'll go deeper. We'll have to go deeper there. Is that what you're
Not
saying?
here, but.
I mean, as you go west.
So we're better than you expected in the area that's been done. Is that what is that accurate to say? No.
Not what we expected.
Better than we expected. Said not what we expected. That does anything. Is it better than we expected? Worse?
No, it's
Different?
it's
about what we
About what you
expect.
expected.
Yeah.
So we could be at worst case scenario.
Right, that's further you come out.
Russ, can I borrow your clicker for a minute?
Central was built, that was built on the highest part.
That hole's been filled in. I've seen this hole every night this week. All right, reason because I'm taking east ball practice, which is exactly right next to it. That hole's been filled in right now. Point your clicker to the back corner back there. That's 5 foot deep back there, left.
This
Right
here.
there. Right. Now, as far as I'm concerned, they've already excavated everything that's going because you've already put in probably 30 to 40 loads of rock here in this front, but you didn't put it all the way to the back. That back part, up 25 feet or so, has been filled in with dirt. This here has been beveled up with rock. It's over there right now if you want to go look at it.
Right.
Well, you said you were going to put in. Why has that back corner been filled in with dirt when the front part has been filled in with rock?
They did that to stabilize it for water and moisture, so they can keep working.
Are they planning on taking any more out on this parking lot front?
I don't believe so.
All right, so you're down to good dirt
Down
there?
Good in this area here.
Are you going to take out any to the left over on to the west side?
Sounded like you said yes.
Yes.
Here to your left on the left side of the picture there.
To the
West.
this way.
Yeah,
over
that
here.
west side, right, that's your west side.
Yes. There's an existing water line
Right.
right now that runs through here that's got to stay in place until the new water lines get installed.
How much farther to the left are you going, west are you going to go, do you know?
Probably this much more.
This much more?
It's substantial.
How many feet is that from left to east to west? Is that 50 feet? More?
Probably.
All right, well.
It's as they go, I mean, and they've got about a week into it, and
Okay, so right
it's an
now,
ongoing.
I just want to make sure I understand. You said right now, first I thought you said it sounded better than we expected.
That's what I heard.
But then it sounded like you said after that it's about what we expected. Is that about worst case?
Which is it?
Well, we haven't removed, or they haven't removed 6 feet in here.
And following up with what Mr. Davis is asking there, the figure that I'm reading from the paper, okay, the 350 grand. Is that just for this section, or are you thinking that's including the entire?
That's including the entire.
section? And it could get worse the further west you go.
It could, yes.
It could.
But
Still
those thoughts were included in the worst case scenario, that it could get worse as we go west.
You know anything about this, Brett? You want to say?
Okay, they put the rock base in here where you see this because bad weather was coming in this weekend. They cut a bleeder hole over to the back side of the job site to get it out in case any water did come in. They're putting dirt back on top of the rock that they put in that front corner. They got the geo-engineer saying they couldn't do that just to get a base started. Now they're going up with dirt. Over to this back side over here, there is a water line running through there, but they're gonna jump over the other side, start over excavating them while we're trying to solve the water line problem. And that's where things at right now.
So you're working around the water line.
Well, the water line's probably about 8 feet deep.
So you think it's going better than we expected or worse?
It's about what I expected. I agree with Russell. I don't think we're gonna hit worst case scenario. Right now, they're at 5 feet.
I think so too.
Under the tennis court,
It's possible it'll happen.
I just don't think it's gonna get any deeper. Could be wrong, but I doubt it.
foot deep.
I like your comment.
Gotta be common. You kick in the teeth later, but gotta be common.
Yeah, I was here, I read what Tom Barr writes primarily.
He don't know anything.
That might be my first mistake.
True.
Tom Barr gets
But I
numbers
guess,
right.
and I just want to put my 2 cents worth in on all this. Can you imagine that, right? You know, I just have a hard time. You know, I've been on construction on the small end of it. I make mistakes. And I hate those mistakes. We're talking $3,000 or $50,000 here, folks. And we've known for 43 years that that's really a swampy area, and I don't understand how we let it pass with core sampling that we took from this area, why we didn't foresee a problem with the soil at that time. I just can't understand that. So we get a bid in here, and I wasn't on the board at that time, I don't know what was discussed. We accept the bid.
Oh, you're wrong.
No, not from
Well,
the 70s.
You're right, well, when they accepted the project, and when we everything except the architect.
Well, okay. That's neither here nor there whether it was or not, but the problem is, you know, we come in with a bid, and we're looking at X amount of dollars, and we're hoping that we can get a good quality educational facility up there for our kids, and get the biggest bang for our buck. And then we turn around and we're hit with all sorts of work order. We've got others on the agenda tonight, which we're going to discuss. With $350,000, folks, I'm sorry, you know, well, you say, well, that's out of several $1 million. Well, it might be. But, you know, $100 to me is a lot of money compared to my salary. I just would like to see a pretty accurate figure come at us for our consideration from here on.
And it's important for us to be good stewards of the taxpayers' money.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I don't think anybody will disagree with any of that.
But
they used industry accepted standards for core drilling, is that correct?
Yes.
Do I think that they were reviewed as well as maybe they could have been? I'm not sure. It sounded like that there was some blame game going on at the last meeting about the other geotechnical engineer, and I'm not sure who was blaming whom, but it sounded like the current one was, the special inspector was blaming the one who did the geotechnical inspection, and maybe there was somebody should have been looking at those more closely, and I guess I'd have to say that somebody would have been you. And so I don't know, I got an angry call, not an angry call, I got a concerned call from the man who occupied this position back when they built Bullitt Central, and he was a little bit upset, rightly so, because he felt like, I'm not sure it was actually said that, the way it came across in Tom's first line and first sentence of his article, but he certainly felt that he was being, and the board then was being blamed for something that they specifically took care of, because they undercut that whole Bullitt Central's building back in 1969 or 70 or whatever year it was, because they knew it was a swamp. 43 years ago. And of course, they didn't have any intention on building there, so of course they're going to push the dirt over where it was. Now, I didn't know that the building was on a swamp. I was barely born. But if the sample was taken and it shows some sort of bad stuff, maybe that would that not say, hey, we should do some more?
We did some of that.
Okay.
Simply, the borings in the report did not match what's there.
Okay.
We could have had in the bid to take that whole thing out. Your bids would have reflected that.
Yep.
Now it's getting quantified, we'll know.
Yes, Russ, and I actually made that, I think I made that in the board update, that at least now it's not inflated, because they might have said, hey, there's some bad soil in there, we're going to put an extra $500,000 in there.
We could have over-designed it to cover it, and you would have, the bids would have.
That's a fair point, I think. So looking at that original geotechnical report now, knowing what we saw, do you see flaws in their interpretation, or did they just What do you all do when you get that report? Do you read it, or is that like, oh, we got that
I
done?
don't know, study it and read it, and we, remember we did include an allowance just because we were still skeptical, but at the same time didn't want to overdo that. 2,000 cubic yards that were included in there, just because of a little bit of worry. Very easy not to have even done that, or could have very easily happened.
Not put
Put
that-
that little extra in there.
You know, I hate to keep bringing up the floor issue, but you made an excellent statement there a few minutes ago. Pointing fingers on the blame game. We've been going around with the blame game ever since seemingly I've been on this board. The floors at Cedar Grove. Whose responsibility is it? Nobody that's accepted the responsibility. We had tests done at that point. We had 6 pilot holes, test holes. 4 of them were destroyed. 2 of them showed extremely high amounts of water, but yet we went on with the project. And now, who's picking up the bill on it?
Yeah, it's true.
The taxpayers of Bullitt County. That's what I'm most disturbed about, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Superintendent.
It's disturbing.
If I could just clarify.
Sure.
With regard to the geotechnical review that was done at Cedar Grove, none of that indicated any issues. In the geotechnical.
It was in the, you're talking about, it was in the boring studio where they put the flooring down, right?
In the slab testing.
Slab test,
Yes,
moisture
the slab moisture testing.
At any rate, I just use that as an example that the blame game's going on. And, you know, the taxpayers of Bullitt County system.
And to, I don't want to be too fair because it's a lot of money, but to be fair, I remember when they built Shepherdsville and there was a $75,000 change order that nobody knew about because of Waldron Shell. You remember that? Waldron Shell? I know about Waldron Shell only because of Shepherdsville, because it was wet and there was problems mushing it up and the weather was bad. You're going to have these problems, final conditions, and it's always going to be somebody saying it wasn't my fault because nobody really wants to eat it.
Well, I guess the bottom line, it is what it is, and we've got to go ahead, like Ms. Ashby and I discussed before the meeting, we've got to go ahead with it.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
I mean, what we're going to
Well,
have,
the
the
only
world's
thing
largest
is-
swimming pool over here in Bullitt Central?
The next time we build a building in Bullitt County, we need to make sure it's on one of these mountains or knobs. And we won't have any water issues or swamp issues. So the next time we build a building in Bullitt County School District, we build it on a knob.
And just for the record, it was not the 1969 board's fault.
I also received a call about that.
Just for the record too, it was 43 years, not 33 years at the.
And I want to turn the speaker on. There are advantages to being old, because some of us do remember that, Mr. Davis. I know I said you weren't.
I was actually born, I just wasn't really old.
So,
No.
so I guess
You can't be old.
with age comes experience.
Wisdom.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Right, Mr. Harris? Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's move on.
He graduated from there, he wasn't that old.
Okay.
It's going to be able to obtain that knowledge somehow. Moving on. Aside from the earthwork, there's a lot of underground utilities going on. This is not real exciting stuff compared to Joe's pictures, but there's a whole lot that goes on underneath the ground, obviously, before you'll see things coming up out of the ground.
Oh, Russ, I've seen lots of these kind of pictures, and I was told it was exciting.
Wasn't
Just to show you, give you an idea of the complication, there's utilities and things running all over the place out there.
You don't know what's there
Did
till you
the
get
best we
there.
could to show what was there.
Yeah.
That's a new gas line that's been right there.
What's that other one over there with the dirt on it?
That's old gas line.
No cast iron pipe.
There's a whole lot of.
Thank goodness for cast iron
Some good news. Foundations are going in for the new kitchen cafeteria. They look really good. Good concrete work. And this earthwork that's been replaced here is really good compacted material.
So you didn't have any bad soil there?
Had some out in the middle, and it was removed and replaced with good stuff.
Interestingly, I learned from that same conversation that they intended, when they designed that school originally, to have an auditorium right there.
Really?
Yeah, it was a later addition, was to be an auditorium where that kitchen's going out.
Not nearly as bad, obviously, here, but there was some. There was even some, it was a piece of wood or a log underneath the existing foundation they uncovered. They mentioned that. So even though this is pretty good, it's still finding some pretty bad things against the building.
At least they didn't find any bodies.
Jimmy Holiday.
They just hadn't dug far enough yet.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Plumbing rough-ins are going in the kitchen, again, not real exciting stuff. There's a lot of underground work on it. Just keep focused on the end result. It's hard to do right now.
Didn't fall
It's
down.
not particularly. Stay focused on what we're going to get. It's be phenomenal.
It'll be nice.
So I do have some other things if we want to look closer at the earthwork reports and so forth, but it depends on how detailed you want to see. There's 2x4s, there's plastic, there's all kinds of stuff that you wouldn't pick up in a drill and coring that they pulled out of there. Debris from the other project was uncovered. So stay after it.
Those things happen.
Anything else?
Did a real
Anything else,
nice,
Mr. Coleman?
real nice job on Roby and Crossroads, Nichols and Hebron. Lots of good things.
That's why
Talk
stay
after that, when we
focused
get
on
that done.
what we're going to get. There's some layers. Jim, flip through those real quick. See that dark layer? There's an old piece of wood. Dark layer there looks. They are measuring though to get the quantities. So they're staking it out and taking physical measurements. So it's math, the volume. So it's not guesswork. So
Brett mentioned some sort of, I don't know what you said, the words you said, I assumed he meant a weep hole or like a trench to get the water out. Is
Yeah,
that
last
what you call it?
before they dug like a bleeder. Just
Bleeder.
to get anything that's out over the weekend. So nothing would go in there and
So-
fill up what we've already done.
So Mr. Coleman mentioned last time about putting some kind of drainage under that
That's what I was
foundation.
referring to, bleeder, something that would take it out from under it even after you've.
Will that
filled it
stay
back
in then?
Well,
that
one
bleeder?
thing that's happening, there, back to the utilities that are going in, that
You
gets
run
trenched
into it.
out and a lot of rock gets put in. So in essence, we're putting in
Like a
these
French
trench
drain.
drains by virtue of putting the utilities. So you're going to get a natural, some drainage paths from those. And I did run that by the civil engineer, and they didn't really think that there's any need to put anything under the slab, but because of these utility trenches that are going to be filled with gravel and rock, it's going to create some drainage paths.
Well, what you're seeing there in that photo, the dark layer is the original topsoil layer before it was ever filled in. That other was thrown in on top of that after excavation, probably the football field and all the other around 40-some years ago. That's probably what that is. But anytime you see that dark layer underneath, it's original, is an original top layer, topsoil layer, and after that on top is what you just thrown on top of it.
Very interesting.
All right, anything else for Russ? All right. Thank you, gentlemen. And that moves us on to, there were no audience comments. That moves us on to superintendent's report. Mr. Davis?
No real report. I just wanted to recognize one of our former students back there, Andrew. I can't remember your last name. Hoban. His mother works at Bull Lick, and he is in school at where you at? To be a high school teacher, I understand. He's here doing some required field work. Hope it's been interesting.
Field work, is that a pun?
That's how you do
Field work.
geology. Was that last slide? What are you going to teach? Social studies.
Whatever that is.
They still are making those
They
mistakes.
are expecting.
This is what you turn out to be.
Let that be a lesson to you.
Welcome, Mr.
This
Holt.
is after many years.
All right, anything else from the board? Any other items? Okay, that moves us on to consent items. Give you a few minutes to look at those. Remember, we did have some additions earlier. All right. Okay, had a few minutes to look at those. Is there any? I guess we need a recommendation first.
Approve consent items is presented, note that all items have been studied with individual recommendations and rationale being provided prior to the meeting in the full board packet on November 18, 2013. And additional things tonight, which is available upon inspection, for inspection upon request.
So we do have a recommendation.
I would like to have discussion on consent items E1 and 2.
Under construction items E1 and E2.
On the change order, so one for both Central and number 04.
Okay. All right, Mr. Hayes? Yes.
Can we have, put you back on the spot. Can you give us an idea here, or what's going on with this consent item going on the thickened concrete floor slab for Old Central?
There was a request from your all's staff to thicken that slab so that the conduit or all the power and data could be put within the slab. We had it originally designed underneath, and then the conduit would be turned up. Now, it would be on top of the vapor barrier, but the request came to put it in, and also to be consistent with the other two projects. That's why we're doing it. That price came out to a little bit over $1 a square foot to do that, which is pretty reasonable. I believe it was less on.
What's the total now?
$3,193.
Okay, $3,193.
How big a slab are we talking about here? We're talking, how big an area?
It's the flexible classrooms.
Roger, excuse me.
Yes.
I had kind of worked with them on some of this at Bullitt East. When we were out there, we were seeing some of the construction taking place, and those conduits were taking the beam going down and under. And we've had a lot of problems with water getting into the conduits here. Odell was one example where we had a lot of water coming into the conduits. We put underground cable in, but then it protects the cable, but then you've got connectors, and those connectors go bad and they fail. So we were hoping that if we encase those conduit inside of the concrete, that would help minimize getting water.
This is a more secured way of running your wiring then.
Right.
How big a conduit are we talking about?
Pardon me?
Inch conduit.
Inch conduit? How many wires going through there?
Probably 4 to 6.
How thick's the concrete total?
It'll be 6
Be
inches.
6 inches?
We had 4 inch, which is typical. So we needed, of course, to get enough coverage. to
Right,
cover
you have to have
the
at least 2-inch cover on anything in concrete, if not more, or it's no good. I mean, it's no good.
So you'll have that.
Well, if it's on the bottom, you've got it on the bottom of your concrete.
Well,
Should
they'll
be down below.
have to position it.
And so the water table, if the water table comes up and rises or whatever, if there's a crack that ever gets into that conduit whenever it's run there, then you've got an opening there for water to get in.
But
I
you'll
have
still
a
get
stupid
the
question. If you're
plastic.
burying this cable in concrete, what if you have to replace the cable?
Well, if we have to replace the cable, I mean, as long as the conduit is intact, we can pull the cable out and run it again.
Oh, okay, all right, I
But
see.
if it's cracked underneath the concrete, And then there's when you get a problem. You get mud and water and moisture that comes back up into the floor boxes. And
I just had visions of you using a jackhammer to get back to the fiber.
As long as the conduit's intact and in the concrete, in the case of the concrete, we should be able to pull a new cable in or out if it gets damaged.
The conduit being inside the concrete will make it less likely for the conduit to fail anyway. It'll be encased in solid rather than being underneath.
Right.
And you'll still have the vapor barrier, the thick plastic under all that.
Yeah.
Well,
It's just to make it a little better.
Maybe that's not proper, but it's been an issue, so we've got
I think it's
double duty.
being proactive is a thing to do.
Price to pay. We can
Yeah,
fix that
$3,000.
cable.
Yeah.
And that's something that wasn't in the bid, it's something we would take forward.
Right.
And that's real stuff, it's math,
It's concrete.
concrete. Get some, like, better turn some more stuff.
Yeah.
Mr. Hayes, you okay with that? Mr. Cole?
Mr. Coleman.
Well, I got a problem running conduit through the I've got a problem running the conduit through the concrete anyhow, because more than likely, 9 times out of 10, you're gonna have a crack in that concrete because of that conduit. Unless you get that conduit exactly in the middle of that concrete, which you're not gonna do.
Our structural engineer voiced the same opinion, and we went back and forth.
I mean, it's gonna
This
crack.
one was requested from the school district, so we did have that quite a bit of conversation.
How many conduits, you just got one, or, I mean, you got one through?
There's several.
So that's what I was figuring. I can guarantee you 2 things about concrete. Whenever somebody pours concrete, I can guarantee you 2 things. It's gonna get hard and it's gonna crack. That's the only thing you can guarantee about concrete. Within a year, that concrete's gonna be cracked.
So you say your structural engineer voiced the same concerns?
Yes.
I got problems with it. I think you're better off, really, if you put that in, if you encase that in sand or some kind of whatever they bedded that area with, if you put that underneath that concrete, you're gonna be a lot better off. But that's your engineers on that, but
I'm telling
I
you
wouldn't do
that We
it.
did have that conversation, and we came back to your folks, and we were told that's what you want.
Well, if you've got several conduits going across there, that concrete, it's gonna have to be replaced probably in 12, 15 years.
And what was the recommendation from your engineer? Underneath?
He said that, like Mr. Coleman was saying, it'll have to be in the right position and meet at least the 6-inch slab. So make sure they.
And that's why we added the other 2 inches to it to make 6 inches, right?
You got Schedule 40 PVC in the ground, it's not gonna crack. You're not gonna get any water inside it, if it's put together right.
We have it all the time, we get it all over the place.
And there's pictures to support it.
Yeah, I've got.
And another issue was put it down lower, you've got other bends to make, which you won't have now, but there was quite a bit of back and forth conversation. We took the instructions from your staff and made a change.
So you don't want to do it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes or no?
The engineer
Personally-
recommended not. Is that what you're saying?
Personally, I didn't want to do it.
Okay, then.
Well, that's a good reason
So
for
you're
us to
saying
do it.
recommend not to approve this change order?
Show you
But it was
something.
done on another
This is
building,
on the, this is on the floor boxes on Overdale
That's what you're doing.
Elementary
I
School.
mean, you did it on the other building. We
That's
already done
on the
change
ground
orders on that?
level. That's upstairs right up above it.
Yeah, you will get moisture.
Okay, did anybody bring up these
It's got
concerns
those
when we were doing these
PVC
other
seal
change
that's
orders?
gonna
Because
come,
we've already got
moisture's
it
gotta
dealt with
come
the
from
other two
outside,
buildings,
not
right?
inside.
But I don't know, I
Engineers
was just
have
looking for
anything to say about
something else,
that?
and I was talking with the electrician, and he said.
You're still gonna get the same thing inside that concrete. You're still gonna get the same moisture, guarantee it.
You
It'll
think?
still be inside.
Okay.
But no guarantee.
Nobody's
I'll
gonna
give you the other
guarantee
suggestions, but.
Put it
Okay, so you
underground.
see,
Well,
you see the
underground
problem that we're
puts you a
into now
bigger
because
PV
it sounds as
bigger
if it was a
conduit
good
is what you
deal,
need, a
and
bigger
now you're
conduit.
saying
Instead
it's
of
just
1
not
inch, you
because
need a
of
2.
Jim,
You need a 2-inch
I guess
PVC.
Brent said he had to do it because you wouldn't want to do it, but your colleague there recommended to the board to approve the change orders on the other side, on the other 2 sites. So you're talking out, you guys are killing me. What are we supposed to do here? Do you want us to do it or not?
It'll be, I think it'll be fine as long as we get it in the right place. Yes, concrete does crack, and there's also control joints put in the concrete, so it cracks along the joint.
Unless you got that PVC running right along that joint, it's gonna crack. It's gonna crack somewhere. Wherever that conduit's at, it's gonna crack. I can guarantee you it will. Unless that is perfectly 3 inches above and 3 inches below, it will crack.
Boy, it's such a good meeting right up until now. Yes or no?
I say put it in like we've talked about, like, so we can be consistent and make sure they get it in the right location. Your staff will get what they requested.
I guarantee that's going to happen, right?
And then when it cracks later down the road, then we'll be
Then we'll come get you.
spending more money.
What happens when it cracks? What's that mean?
Well, concrete is
Cracks.
gonna crack.
It's gonna crack.
It's not gonna, it's not like, it's gonna concrete,
Huh?
settle or concrete.
So there's carpet on the floor where it's gonna crack? Or it's going to definitely crack? And so, what does that mean? Carpet's gonna fall in? Gonna be a problem? Is it gonna be an issue or not?
No, it's not gonna be an issue. If it's gonna be a problem, we can go back the way we were. We were just trying to.
I think we need to be consistent. If this is the practice that's happened at the other buildings, I don't think now's the time to change and do it different here. If we've done it that way at the other two centers, let's just do it the same way here.
What I need to do is make sure they get it in the right plane, get it in the middle of that slab, best they can.
You know what concrete weighs per yard? 5,500 pounds. When you throw concrete on there, I don't care what you put underneath that conduit, it's gonna sag, it's gonna go to the bottom.
Concrete's gonna be under the conduit, right?
All right. I agree with you, Dolores. I think we need to be consistent. It's just a shame that this issue didn't come up before,
For debate.
we had the other two
So,
places done and.
when we have other things, sorry,
That's okay, you were,
that you don't agree with that they're saying, and that you're gonna come here and say to the board in a public meeting that we didn't agree with this, but we did it because you told us to, tell me first. Tell me first. Because I don't like this. All right.
So Mr. Hayes, yes, that we pull that item. Do we want to vote on it separately, or what's your pleasure? You also had
Yeah, I'd like to vote on this separate, each one of those two.
we also had number 2 that we haven't discussed.
We haven't
Oh, yeah, we
discussed
didn't talk about
number
that.
two, The Bullet East project unsuitable soil. That hadn't
Yes, sir.
even been addressed tonight, has it?
Yeah, no, that's not talked about.
We actually already had one portion of this covered in the previous change order, the previous portion. This is just a continuation. Once again, when we have borings, we only have 1 6-inch area. Unfortunately, we don't have the technology to do a full site MRI or anything like that. When the contractor was excavating for the footings, the district special inspector tested the subgrade for the footings and determined that there would have to be some additional material taken out in order to achieve a stable base for the footings.
Okay, now let me get you correct here. I won't be facetious when I say this. We're going to use this entire table to build on. Now, from what you just said, now, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm not always right. You're going to take a core sample here, and it's going to affect the whole table. Is that what you just said?
Well, I said that that's the information that we have to go on because current technology only permits a sample in one.
Do you see what I'm trying to drive at here? I want to build on this whole daggone area, and I want to sample right here.
How many samples do you think?
I think we took 16 across the side.
Oh, okay.
So, let's take it back, because I know you've built a lot of houses, so.
Yes, sir. If I make a mistake, I ate the cost of it.
Well, kind of, except have you ever run a rock and had to have the customer buy that?
No, sir.
That happens though.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
bought a lot.
Absolutely.
When I built.
Yes, sir.
So is it the same scenario? Is that what it is? Core sampling is like, well, we ran the rock, you don't have to buy the whole ram or ram hoe, whatever the heck that machine is that knocks out the rock. Is that,
Oh, we've had another case at that site where we did show rock in the core sample. The contractor hit that rock. They thought that they were going to be due a change order to remove all of that rock to install some lines. We told them because we had core samples along the line there, that they would not be able to, that would not be accepted.
because they built that into their bid, because they knew rock was gonna be there.
Yes, sir.
Should know this much.
Well, wait a
They
minute.
went from east side across that field into Cherry Hills, onto Cherry Hill Boulevard to hook into the sewer. Mr. Lay allowed the board to hook into, and they hit rock. Well, that sewer line had to be real deep, and it's a long run from the school to the street, and they hit rock. You got, what you know was that was Sherman Carter. And it took them forever and cost a fortune. I can't remember how much it was, but that was definitely a big change order that they didn't see coming
Contractor asked for $40,000.
on that one, on your rock.
We rejected it.
This 12,000 is on top of what? Was there another one before?
There was one previously. It was the same situation, a continuation of the footings as they would continue to be put in. On that.
Cost benefit wise, 16 boring holes versus the possibility of a big change order. How do you guys weigh that out? Is there a standard? Is there industry standard? Is it just a guess? Do y'all just make up a number? What do you do?
No, it's, you look at the geotechnical report as thoroughly as you can. We did have some areas to be over excavated in the contract. As Russ said, it's always a balancing act there.
What are you balancing?
Balancing the amount of over excavation that you have in the contract and raising the bid amount versus, trying to find that balance with getting as much as you can covered, but not increasing too far the initial bid.
So is there a square foot per hole kind of thing? Because there are what, 20?
How many borings?
Yeah, about 27,000 square feet for that building. How many, 16 borings? Is it one boring per 2,000 square feet? Is there a standard? What do you do?
We selectively place the borings. We tell the geotechnical engineer where to put the borings.
And what's based there?
The structural engineer is part of the decision where to put the borings and how many.
You're all structural engineers? Okay. So they look at the site and they say, that looks a little mushy, we'll better try a hole
All
here.
four corners, in the middle, and then we do some out in the side.
So it could be, if the site looked funny, you could do 50 holes rather than 16. If the site looked really solid, you might do 2. Is that what you're saying?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
It could be, and it wouldn't be very cost effective to put one every 2 feet.
Because they can cost a lot, is that what you're saying?
Oh, yeah, it would be.
Okay, so let's get to that, because that's the other stage. You said balancing. What are we balancing against? How many holes, what's the whole cost? I mean, if you did, you know what I'm asking? What keeps us from being extremely cautious and boring a whole bunch more holes?
The cost of the study.
Do we know about
Like,
that?
for example,
It's a judgment
I just did a project.
That's $360,000.
Easy go.
Go ahead.
A lot more than this $12,000.
Is that right?
Yes.
A lot more than the $360,000 for something.
Not necessarily on that.
But it's a little bit of a crapshoot. It's a little gamble,
It's underground. It's not.
which is why you have contingency for unknowns.
Correct.
So about how much would an extra bunch of holes cost? Just
Maybe a couple thousand per hole to drill and everything.
Okay.
Seems like we spend about 10,000 per site, maybe a little bit more.
I think you got
maybe
ripped.
more at some point.
Okay. So that you could easily double the cost of the borings and have money spent drilling holes in the ground
Exactly.
for nothing.
That's correct.
We could
It's
also,
that is the balance.
well, we could also approve this, and 2 weeks down the road, there's
Yeah.
more unsuitable soil, and then we've got another change order.
Certainly could.
I mean, check the work orders we ever had with this. Oh, you've been superintendent, what, 7, 8 years?
Yes.
In your 7 years, how many change of work orders we're supposed to
Zero.
have you had that actually gives back to us?
There's actually several.
Large amounts of money?
No.
No, not usually. There's usually allowances that aren't used, and that's a problem. There's always been that debate, since we're gonna have a construction meeting. So there's always been that debate about how much allowance do you put in, because KD doesn't like us putting any allowance, because that encourages contractors to use the allowance. So if you put the allowance in, it masks the change orders. But if you don't put them in, then you got a contingency problem that you're gonna run into. It's a balancing act. The fact is, though, well, it's not a fact. I mean, it's an opinion. I mean, it's why we hire architects who hire engineers to decide how many holes to bore. And sometimes you're gonna hit bad soil, and sometimes you're not. And
I suggest
As soon as
you,
we can get a full.
I suggest from now on out that you get a geologist to work with you. You may have one, I don't know, but I suggest you get a geologist to work with you. He might save you a whole lot of money. It would behoove y'all to go back to college and take a few geology classes. It might cut down your expenses.
Well, I say we've got these 2 items that have been requested to pull, so let's, if it's okay with the rest of the board, let's go ahead and vote on the other consensus items, and then we'll look at these 2 items as we do that. We've got a recommendation on the other consensus items?
Yes, sir.
That's already been, would you please read that again?
Yes, sir.
No, we don't need to. We've got a motion. Got a second to approve the other consensus items?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes, okay. The other consensus items were approved. Unless there's any more discussion, I guess we'll vote on these 2 consensus items here separately. You got it? You ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I guess I need a recommendation then for construction item E1.
I recommend approval of the change order amount of $3,192 to increase the floor slab by 2 inches to enclose the technology wiring conduit and the concrete.
Okay, we've got a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Got a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second? All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Did everybody vote?
No. Any opposed?
Opposed?
And I'd like to explain my vote on that if it could. I vote no. And it's not cost $3,000 to drop the bucket. But where I had my concern, we've got the architects who said originally they would oppose it, or they would not be in favor of it. That's why I give a no vote.
I understand that.
Just to be honest.
The only reason I voted yes is to, remain consistent with the other 2 sites, to be honest with you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to explain my vote too. Like Mr. Hayes, I'm going to say that because I want to oppose it because of common sense.
That's a good reason.
But then again, common sense has no place in education.
All right, need a recommendation for, construction item E2.
Recommend approval of the change order in the amount of $12,705 to remove unsuitable soil as directed by the special inspector and replace the structural flowable fill in the amount of an additional 105 cubic yards.
Okay, I've got a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
Motion, because I don't see any point in stopping the project for $12,000.
That's the alternative.
It is the alternative. I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I've got a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
2 opposed.
Any opposed? 2 opposed.
You guys want to explain the vote again?
Any comment?
No.
All right. That moves us forward. All right, no unfinished business. Takes us on to new business, early graduation.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
One more thing.
Yes.
Hey, before you leave, Russ, am I correct that that's already been done, the 12,000? It's already been done, right? At East?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, we've always operated under the assumption that we don't want to hold the project and tear up the schedule based on things that aren't changeable. So I need to know from you all, do we want to depart from that? And if we have a problem that may hinder a change order, do we want to call a halt to the projects? Because we can do that, but just understand that that will delay the opening dates. Because we can make votes against things, but we need to know if it's going to be, because I don't want you all to say no. If one more person would have voted no on this, we'd had a $12,000 bill somebody's going to have a problem with.
On East.
Yeah, on the
Not on
East. It'll be the
Central,
same,
we
but that's
can-
already gotten approval.
We'll sit, if we
Yeah,
don't-
I got that. Yeah, on the East, but like a, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm asking you?
Yeah, what you know.
Yes.
Oh, I'm fine.
Because I don't want you in trouble.
I personally just, I don't want to see any of the projects held up. We seem to be on schedule, correct? Pretty much on schedule.
Yes, he's doing great on his too. The new kitchen cafeteria is probably ahead. College of Career Center is 2 weeks behind.
It's not my intention, my personal intention to hold anything up. I just want to be on record as just simply saying, hey, folks, let's watch this. For in the future, we've got to be more frugal and more intentional. And I'm sure this board, we did, we fought it. So I'm fine to continue.
Okay, I just don't want to approve something and say, okay, go ahead and do something if you guys aren't going to be in favor
I
of
want
it.
to assure you that I'm doing the best I think I can do to be frugal. But the nature of it, I know you're looking at us as the experts. I can't excuse, but there's still only so much I can control, given how dynamic things are. And I'm gonna hang with it. But we got a long ways to go with Central.
Yeah.
But you're the one who's in the line of fire.
Oh, I realize that.
We don't have the other people here. So you're going to hear the tirades from us, I guess.
And that's fine, but I just want to assure you.
That's why you're making the big ones.
I'm not necessarily the big one. I want to assure you that I'm going to do my best effort to get you a good project. So,
All right.
That's all we want.
okay.
Thanks.
So with the 3-2 vote, do we move forward?
Yes.
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 I think you got it.
Yes.
Okay.
2 passes.
All right, good deal.
All right, that moves us on to new business, new business, early graduation rates.
Presented our 2 requests for early graduation. Each student has earned enough credits to satisfy the high school diploma requirements. First girl is from Bullard East, Katie Spurlock. She's been in EATC and has applied to JC now and the nursing program and has been accepted. Chris Blackburn from North Bullard has been applied and been accepted to the University of Louisville. Both took advantage of some of our special programs, which is a testament to trying to get out and reach kids that aren't fitting in the traditional way. So very excited about that.
Yes.
Thank you, Rob.
Both are college ready.
Yes.
We have a recommendation.
Approve the early graduation request for both Katie Spurlock of Bullard East High and and Christopher Blackburn of North Bullard as presented.
We have a recommendation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carried. All right, item B, manager training program for food services.
Food Services is anticipating several manager openings in the next couple of years. We would like to develop and implement a manager training program to meet this challenge and take a proactive step towards quality managers. Presented for review of programs, announcements, and applications to participate, and we have had this document reviewed by Eric Harris.
We have a recommendation.
Approve the request to develop and implement a manager training program for the school food services presented.
Okay, we have a recommendation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second.
I think this is great.
Yes, it
Yes,
is. She's
absolutely.
really doing
All in
it.
favor?
Yes.
Yes.
All in favor?
Yes.
There we go, it's unanimous. Moves us on to item C, request for additional staff at Overdale Elementary.
Overdale Elementary requests 4 additional days for the Thinking Strategies coach. Funds are available for these additional hours in the Title I School Improvement Grant. Additional information has been provided.
Do we have a recommendation?
Approve the 4 additional days for the Thinking Strategies coach at Overdale Elementary School as they're requesting. Was that a Title I money?
There's a recommendation. Do I have a motion? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. It's unanimous. Item D, first reading of revised policy 03.6, volunteers.
Presented as a proposed change to Board Policy 03.6, volunteers. And this is to bring the district policies, to bring the hiring policy and the volunteer policy into alignment. I'm recommending that we change on volunteer policy saying that any drug-related offense disqualifies someone from volunteering ever, to all drug-related offenses within 5 years from the date of the check and no more than 2 such offenses in total. Because you could volunteer, you could work for us, but not volunteer for us. And so we wanted to bring that into alignment.
Okay.
Our mistakes should not define our future.
Exactly.
Do we have a recommendation?
Approve the first reading of revised policy 03.6, volunteers as presented.
We have a recommendation. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And item E, first reading of revised policy 05.48, weapons.
Presented as a proposed change to this policy, the revision is to specify that a firearm in a vehicle on school grounds must be kept in a locked vehicle at all times that it's on school grounds. Okay, now that sounds terrible. But, and we're putting this in here because Kentucky Revised Statute 527.070 permits, there is unlawful weapons on grounds, but there are several exceptions. An adult who possesses a firearm, if the firearm is contained within a vehicle operated by the adult and it is not removed from the vehicle except for a purpose permitted herein, or brandished by the adult or by any other person acting with express or implied consent of the adult while the vehicle is on school property. And so we find that an employee could have a gun in their vehicle per law. And we all think that you can't do that. But we found in an incident last year, somebody had a gun that looked like a rifle and it was a pellet gun.
I think it was actually a gun.
It was a gun, wasn't it? Yeah, it was in the trunk.
It seems like, well, it may not have been, I can't really remember.
It was
for
like
sure.
a pellet gun, because we were talking about what kind of discipline we'd be looking at, and we started looking at the law. The person had a right to have that in their vehicle. Of course, she didn't realize it was in there, and she was embarrassed for
Can
it.
I interrupt you?
Sure.
Okay, this is a funny thing to be saying, bring your gun on campus. It's not.
Yeah.
What the policy said previous is, weapons are prohibited on the school campus unless otherwise allowed by law, which the law does allow an adult to have a firearm on campus. What the law doesn't say is it has to be in a locked vehicle or secured in any way. It just says you can have one on campus if you're an adult. So our policy says if you're going to do that, then you have to have it locked up.
Yes.
Is that accurate
That's
to say?
exactly what
That's
we're
the reason the
saying.
policy's there. It's to sort of supplement what the law says can be done, because we can't make them not do that because the law says you can. But if you're going to have a lawfully held gun on our school campus and you comply with the statute, then it has to be locked according to our policy.
Does that mean that the vehicle has to be locked? or it
Yes.
has to be
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
in a
Not in a
locked
locked
vehicle.
case or something?
No, a
It
locked
says
vehicle.
In a locked, if it's in the vehicle, has to be in a locked vehicle at all times that is on school grounds.
Okay, all right. Well, and you said an adult, right?
Yes, an adult.
In other words, that student would have to be 18.
No, it's a locked car, not a briefcase.
Well, I'm
That's
saying.
a good question right there.
I mean, no, all right, all right.
Any adult.
Right, any adult, but, here's I think it might have happened either here or in another school district or something. What if that student drives, gets up in the morning, their car won't start,
It happens.
and they take dad's car, or mom's for that matter, and they have a pistol in the car, and they don't know it, and they come to school, of course, blah, 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 and the dogs come or somebody comes, and they find it, and the car is locked. Now, I mean, I guess you,
Hopefully.
hopefully.
Hopefully what would happen would be, well, it wouldn't, because you said there's no common sense in education, but hopefully.
Exactly. Well,
we
that's
would
what
have-
I'm getting
I
at.
think our administrators
Right.
are smart enough to
Right.
say, see that circumstance and understand.
Right,
that
that's
there
what
was
I'm
no
getting
intent.
at. That's what I'm getting at. Okay, okay, like I said a while ago, common sense. Okay, I mean, if you're gonna say, no, we're gonna throw this kid to the dogs, we're gonna jerk him
I
down
don't
to
think we would
jail.
do that.
Right, I mean, hopefully we don't, because that's,
We were just surprised to learn that
right.
the state
State
statute
statute
allows
said it.
guns to be in the car on our school grounds. So we wanted to make it a little tighter. And there was a lot of legal discussion.
Yeah, we looked at a more restrictive policy even, but there's so many statutes that protect gun possession, where we fall on that issue, even to the point of being on school grounds, a parking lot that is. So to go beyond this invites a challenge, and we didn't want to do that.
This keeps
Well,
us
we're-
secure, locked up.
Keep it secure,
Keeps us safe,
locked up.
and we're not violating.
Well, I mean,
anybody's rights.
well, let's go one step further than that. Can we, and I hate to encourage a student to do that, but if we have it in our handbook or we have it in our rules we hand out the first day or on our website, you know, I hate to even publicize it, but still, I mean, we have it there. We shouldn't. Yeah, I know, that's what I'm getting at. But if we don't tell them.
It's in policy, it doesn't have to be publicized.
It's in policy, I know, but it's still.
Yeah, we're not gonna
I
advertise.
mean, right.
Let's not do that. Do we have recommendations?
Approve the first reading of revised policy 05.48, weapons as presented.
We have recommendations. Is there a motion?
Moved.
Have a motion, to have a second?
Second.
Have a second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Takes us on to item F, which remember we amended that item. First reading of revised policy 09.11, school attendance areas.
Presented are the revisions to policy 09.11, student attendance areas, that impact timelines for high school transfers in the district. This revision will allow initial high school transfer applications to begin in January, so they can be approved by the end of March. The district will continue to accept transfer applications up to the week prior to school starting, and in the event of extenuating circumstances. All transfer applications will be accepted, reviewed, and approved in accordance with board policy. This policy was reviewed by KSBA and Eric Harris.
We have a recommendation.
Approve the first reading of revised policy 09.11, school attendance areas as presented.
There's a recommendation. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I have a motion, to have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Unanimous. Item G, first reading of revised policy 08.113, graduation requirements. Mr. Smith.
Submitted as a revision to board policy 08.113, graduation requirements, and specifically the subsection titled middle school credit. We're looking to reinstate the B as the minimum requirement to pass, which was somewhat mistakenly taken out by me back in the spring.
Tell he's not an architect.
Maybe, right. I'm owning it.
Confession is good for the
Are you
soul.
gonna, are you gonna put, are you gonna?
I didn't actually do it all by myself. It was based on a number of conversations, but once we took it out and then looked at it, we probably need to have kids better prepared. If an eighth grader is making a D in algebra and passing, that's not setting them up for success in high school. So let's put that minimum requirement to be in. That gives them a solid foundation.
You gonna put that in concrete?
6 inches.
Only between three on top of 3.
All right. Do we have recommendations?
Approve the first reading of revised policy 08.113, graduation requirements as presented.
We have a recommendation. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion, to have a second?
Second.
Have a second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Unanimous. Item H, TEL Kentucky Survey Report, Facilities and Resources. Mr. Davis.
I want to get it out. No, I will just read it to you. As part of the superintendent evaluation process, Katie is requiring that a number of items be discussed in open session recorded in the Board of Education minutes. One such directive is the board and superintendent will review and discuss whether the district has shown improvement on the TEL Kentucky survey questions related to facilities and resources. There were 8 questions related to facilities and resources on the 2013 TEL survey. The full survey results are provided. both comparisons with the state as a whole and comparing the 2013 with the 2011 results. It's done every 2 years. 2011 was the previous one, and then 2013 this past fall. Our 2013 results were very much positive. If you had a chance to look at those, teachers have sufficient access to instructional technology. We were at 83%. The state was at 82%. We were up at 78 back in 2011, so we had a 5% increase on B about reliable communication technology. 96, that was us, 11 and 13, and Kentucky at 94. Office equipment supplies, that's kind of a given, I guess, but we were at 86 this time, 83 last time, 84 is the state in 2013, so that was good. Professional support personnel, we're still only at 83%, state's at 84, but we are up 6 percentage points over 2011. And it depends how you define professional support personnel. You could say that that's instructional coaches, and that service has gotten better. You could also could say that it's central office staff. If somebody calls Rob, it's it's 6, 8, 9 schools, 10 schools calling Rob, or 13 calling Terry. Maybe they're saying there's not enough of them to go around. Could be something. It could be anything, but that's what it says. School environment's clean and well maintained, up 2 points to 86% versus 84 in 2011, and Kentucky at 85. Adequate workspace, 85% of teachers agreed or strongly agreed versus 83% in 2011. Kentucky is 87%, which is 2 points ahead. Physical environment of the classrooms, and this is the one that I think I discussed a little bit more at length. The physical environment of classrooms in school supports teaching and learning. Bullitt County 87, Kentucky 89, 2011 Bullitt County 86. I dug into that one a little deeper, and Maryville, if you'll notice, almost all of them were way up there, 100%, like the LJ was 100%. Almost all of them. Maryville, though, 26% agreed or strongly agreed as compared to 87% of the county as a whole. Similar results were at Mount Washington with 58% agreeing or strongly agreeing. So if you take out those two outliers, we're way up in the 90s, well above the state. And I think that kind of indicates that our facility plan is correct. We need to be doing something about Maryville and Mount Washington relatively soon. And then the reliability and speed of internet connections, 86% of Bullitt County agrees versus 85% back in 2011, and versus only 76% in the state, so 10 full points. So that's a testament to Jim Jackson and his vision, I have to say, again, on that fiber optic network, which continues to pay extremely large dividends in savings and reliability. And this is not facilities and support, but I guess I didn't write it down. The thing that I like the best on that whole TEL survey is the question that says overall, my school is a good place to work and learn. And I don't have the number, but I believe it's 90. Do you remember, Becky? Is it 96%? It was up.
It was in the 90s.
It was well up. I think it was 96 versus 92 maybe in 2011, but a good increase and well above the state average. So I think that says good things about our teachers and our environment that our teachers are experiencing, and the success that our teachers are experiencing as a whole district. It's kind of a nice place to work in a place that's being successful rather than a place that's kind of on the bad list.
And a place that's moving forward.
So we can, that's for discussion, if there's more discussion about that.
Any discussions, questions, comments?
I think we've got enough of Terry Price to go around.
Enough Terry Price to go around? All right, if no discussion, do I have a recommendation?
Recommend inclusion of this goal statement 3 in the minutes of record as presented.
Got a recommendation? I guess, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Have a motion to have a second?
Second.
Have a second, all in favor?
Yes.
Yes. All right, and that moves us on to item I, student discipline case.
Included in your packet is information regarding one student who was recommended for expulsion by the principal. The expulsion review committee met, findings and recommendations are included for your review.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I was, in reviewing this, I have for that board member who wishes to make a motion based upon the record, which is pretty substantial, certain points that should be made and included in the record to satisfy the recommendation, which is to expel without services. To do that under the statute, you have to make certain findings of fact that are supported by clear and convincing evidence. I've drafted something for whichever board member would like to read that into the record.
This is expulsion without services. This is not day treatment. This is not online learning. This is you've done something so egregious that
You're
we don't
gone.
want you in here.
We don't want you in schools at all.
And you can come back next year, whenever you finish up.
Mr. Chairman, is this something we need to discuss in executive session?
I thought this was, yeah. These usually.
It's the one that, it was in the
Executive
packet.
It was in the packet. The
Yeah,
one
it
that was in the packet.
but,
Well, I just told on myself I didn't make it.
You don't have to, if there's a hearing, there is, the student has the option of electing for an open or closed session. We're not identifying that student.
That student distributed drugs to another student.
Yeah, the facts.
That's really what it comes down to.
The facts can be easily, and I guess I could findings and recommend, if you want to handle it that way, recommend that whoever wants to adopt them, if you want to adopt them. This, from the Expulsion Review Committee, which has, as you know, is compiled of members not only of the school, which is Bullitt Central High School, that may be involved, but also people outside of that school. So it's an objective review and finding. It's a 73-page documented report, and in that report, the student is a fourth-year student at Bullitt Central with 27 pages of documented disciplinary issues, with each page representing 3 to 5 incidents, and which include defiance of school authority and disruption of the delivery of school services. The offense before the board represents the 7th drug offense while at Bullitt Central. In the matter before you, the student transferred multiple pills to another student who took them all at once, resulting in an overdose that brought nearly tragic consequences. In each instance of the prior drug offenses, the student has received intervention in the form of counseling and other progressive disciplinary measures. It is recommended that there is a need to expel the student without services for the safety of school staff and other students, and to allow the uninterrupted delivery of educational services to other students. And if you so agree with that based upon your review of the record, then I would suggest that you ask that that be incorporated by reference into your motion.
So, okay, do we have
Yes.
a recommendation?
Accept the recommendation of the Expulsion Review Committee in regards to the one student described in your packet and above.
And we've got a recommendation. Do I have a motion to expel without services?
And say how they need to say it if somebody wants to.
If you so move to do so, then I move and adopt the findings and recommendation that I read.
Mr. Ferris, okay.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, I think it's so sad.
I have a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Is that it, everybody?
That was everybody. All right, and we added an executive session. As authorized by KRS 61.8101C to discuss pending litigation due to the sensitive nature of the matter and strategy to be discussed with counsel. Do I have a motion to adjourn regular session and move into executive session?
So moved.
I have a motion to